And Dr. Andrea Johnson is here, and she is going to talk with us about managing your personal finances as a business owner. It is very important to connect personal and business together. So, Andrea, it's all yours.
Well, good morning, everyone, virtually and in person. How are y'all today?
Good morning.
Great.
Good, great. All right. So I'm going to jump right into it. So you pretty much heard a little bit about me. I'll throw a few more pieces out, and they positioned me perfectly between the two presenters because I live in all these spaces. So like you, I have to do my financials in the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whether you get behind or life happens, you still need them. While you're managing your business, you have to manage your personal finances and your credit, because your credit is the gatekeeper, for lack of a better word, to when you start talking about funding sources for your business, particularly a for-profit business. And so regardless of what you've heard in the streets, you still need to have your credit. This is how you be good credit. This is how you build business credit, because the CDFIs that you talk, you have a representative. Funny enough, I've worked with CDFIs as well. Organizations, businesses, bankers want to know. They want to look at your credit because they need to know if they lend you some money, how likely are you going to pay them back? So what you need to make sure and understand is that you need to make sure your personal financial house is in order while you're projecting and forecasting and all those great things. And it's not always easy. I'm here to tell you. I've been in business for I can't believe it, 2002. I'm starting to forget how old I am and how old everything is. 2002, so that's 21 years. 21 years ago, I hung my shingle with A&J Consulting Services, and I started with the skill set that I had at the time. My background, as you heard, I have a PhD in leadership studies, but my degrees, my master's and my bachelor's are in sociology. I started a business with the skill that I had at the time, which was knowing how to develop programs, the technical writing aspect of the business plan, blah, blah, blah. Worked for a nonprofit for years. But what I didn't know was the money part. So when I first started, let's just say I've been on both sides of the credit race, okay? And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing to be ashamed about. It does not mean that you are not a good person. And these are the things that they should teach us, right? In school, college, we're so educated, but not in our finances. So over the years, to make a long story short, I've built my business to where I have those three components: financial management, leadership development, business development. On the leadership side, I am what they call a GenOS certified emotional intelligence practitioner. That is a lot. That's a mouthful. Okay, I gotta remember way to keep on mine. I don't want them to feel neglected. And that means I offer emotional intelligence assessments. If you're in management, well, you're CEO of your business, but in management or dealing with people in your relationships, those are some of the tools that I offer in coaching. I'm also a certified executive coach, so we also offer DISC personality assessments. You may have heard of these things. Whether you're in management, employer, wherever you fall, we have to learn how to deal with people because people have our money, and dealing with ourselves. As it relates to the financial management piece, helping individuals and organizations on the individual side, how to manage your personal finances as a business owner, how to improve your credit scores, which is one of my books. Those are my books over there to the right. And for you, well, my right, your left, those that are online, Miss Ashley is going to, at the end or whenever, we'll pull up my shop page so you can see all of the books that I've written. I planned none of this, but this is how it happened over these years. So how to improve your credit score step by step, how to save thousands on college tuition, how to start for-profit and nonprofit businesses. I have books on social entrepreneurship. I have one on teaching social entrepreneurship at HBCUs. I am an alumni of North Carolina A&T State University. I don't know if any Rams in here. Okay, you got any in there?
No.
Okay. Okay, all right. Well, and so I'm part, I'm a Wolfpack too. I got my master's from NC State, and then I have my undergrad and PhD from A&T. But while I was teaching at A&T, something I also said I'd never do, while I was teaching there, I created the only social entrepreneurship course there. And I actually used my time teaching as a launching pad and the audience to be able to create all these things that we have now that I didn't have in 2002. There have always been books on money and business, but I needed something step by step. So like you, I sat in classes and I still educate myself, but sitting in classes trying to figure out step one, step two, you better draw me a picture because I learned just like I did in third grade. You know, if I've never seen it, even now, I don't understand it. Anyway, that's a little bit about my why, y'all. But to create tools, so if someone never met me, they could still understand a step by step. So I'm here to tell you, I don't know any of you personally. I have felt the highs of entrepreneurships and I'm gonna say lows, the mountains and the valleys. I have seen revenue that has exceeded anything I've ever made, and then the next month, it's very low. And then it goes up again, and then it's down, then it's up. Anybody can attest to that? Yes. We just buckle up. Buckle up. But regardless of what state, one of the things, I don't know if I'll just say this, if you're in the startup phase, and I don't know if you're working, I've done all of it. Another job, I've been a part-time entrepreneur, I've been a full-time entrepreneur, I've been a full-time entrepreneur with side hustles, and then if the side hustles dried up, and I'm like, this don't feel right, but I gotta stick with it. I mean, the money part, but knowing my purpose. So I know what it's like to be a little frightened, a whole lot frightened, and things like that. So what I'm gonna share with you today is some of the tools that not only I share with people, but I am living this thing. I'm not someone who is sitting high and saying, you know, I'm not judging you, because I get it. All right. So that's a little bit about my why. I have a nonprofit organization. It's called Bridge. It stands for Building Resources in Disadvantaged Groups Through Economics and Empowerment. That's a mouthful, but there are a lot of organizations called Bridge, but mine, that's the legal name. I call it Bridge for short. And we serve as a gateway of information for people who may be in disadvantaged positions, whether it's their socioeconomic status, race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. So when organizations don't have the funds to be able to use my products and services, I've been able to serve and partner with organizations like Thomasville High School, where I'm from, where the big cherry is, Winston-Salem State University, my alma mater, and North Carolina A&T, lots of organizations to be able to bring this to students, bring this to whoever. And so I'm always looking to partner with organizations so that we can wipe the issue of money off the table for participants. So y'all can learn more about me on my website, or feel free to talk to me about either the nonprofit or for-profit end. The nonprofit, I can't make a living through what I'm doing with my nonprofit, but I've worked for nonprofits before. So I have years of experience, hence all these books that I've written over time. All right, that's my why. So let's get to the money part. I will tell you, I'll share a few stories with you about as it relates to money, but what I wanted to say about if you're in a startup stage of your business, if you're working another job, best thing you can do now, the smartest thing I ever did, and I didn't know it was smart at the time, made a lot of mistakes, is, you know, get the things that you need. So when you need it, you already have it. Because a lot of times when you need it, you can't get it. Now, did y'all follow that? Because that was so grammatically incorrect. I'll say it again. So on the personal side now. So, you know, I don't know where your credit is. These are things, you know, we talk about privately. Get the things that you need on the personal side now. Apply for it now while you can get it, because sometimes when you need it the most, you can't get it. Absolutely. For example, I have an order here. I'm on, you know, there it is. But you know, I'll, you know, step by step. So one of the things I did years ago is I had what they call a open line of credit through the credit union. I've been with them since I was a kid. There were times they wouldn't give me anything, even though my money was there because of my credit. Then there were times they did. You know, that's banking. So I'm here to share some of those things with you. But I had a line of credit, still have a line of credit. A line of credit is different than a personal, like just a basic installment loan, because let's say you get $10,000. Well, you don't just use all the $10,000 and then all you can do is pay it back. How it works is they extend you a line of credit, and then once you make your payment, that amount less the interest opens back up. You can use it over and over and over again. So you could use it $30,000 worth. Let me stop this. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I love a good line of credit. Why did I tell you all that? I don't know where you are on your journey, so I'm just talking to you. If you're in a position now where you're able to get something, and somebody else is going to talk to you about additional lines of credit, but these are the things that sometimes when we go to banks, and I have all kinds of banking friends, they may say, well, you don't qualify here, you don't qualify there, or you don't have a business plan. But there are some things, if your credit is decent, and we'll talk about scores, you can apply online, boom, and all they do is look at your credit score, working capital. Now, there is more to that story. There are scammers out here, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I have had to, like I said, I've received thousands of dollars, in working capital for my business, even during COVID, which ties into the prior presentation. When opportunities come, you need to make sure you have you even if you get behind, I'm behind now on my financial statements, but I will be getting caught up. You never know when there's an opportunity to pull the trigger and you already have things that you need or can pull it together quickly. That happened to me in COVID. COVID, I was able to get lots of resources because I know how to pull together those financials. I do my financials. And if I'm behind, like I said, I could get caught up. I actually received a grant from the Institute, who you have a representative going to talk to you later, or behind me about that, you know, and they asked for the financials, they asked for all kinds of things. And I was able to pull to get that. So that's just the backdrop to that. This is a lot. Like I said, you got your financial statements, just like you have a big budget for your business, you need a budget for you. And they're all these things are happening at the same time, and it can get overwhelming. So that's just my side note to people. If right now your debt to income ratio is good, whatever's going on, you can start to take advantage of some of those resources. All of them are good, but we can talk some more about it. I just want to put that bug in your ear. So yes. So for the purposes of today, these are just rhetorical questions, asking yourself the following. What is your credit score? Do you understand how to budget? Do you understand the relationship between your budget and your credit score? Do you understand how your personal credit can affect obtaining capital for your business? So if you don't know the answers, that's okay, because you will by next week, or you'll have a better understanding of these things. Now, the reason why you're gonna hear me talk about budgeting a lot is because if you don't have control of your money, it's gonna have control of you. Now, I do understand that sometimes you have more month than money, because I transitioned from teaching full-time, wow, you got that check once a month, and what came out, and then I transitioned over to the money was still, the bills were still there, but the money fluctuated. And so it's important. And I work with, like I said, I work with business owners who just started or in the startup phase. I've worked with people who bring in thousands of dollars a month and they still are in the red. And some of it has to do with, regardless of your cash flow, it's important to understand where you are. It's scary, but you still need to understand it, because ignoring it does not make it go away. Trust me. You can try to pray at it too, but you still need to have some practical, you need to have the works with your faith. Okay. So this is why I'm saying this, because when you pay your debts late, and that doesn't mean you don't owe your mom, your dad, your friend, somebody else, but things that will show up on your credit report, those things, it's like your report card for how you pay your debts back, okay? And especially if they're recent, that's going to hurt you. So that's why it's important to understand, what does your budget look like? And some people say, well, when I get some money, I'll create a budget. Here's the deal. A budget is just a plan for how you spend your money, and you're spending somebody's money, whether it's yours or somebody else's. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because in my most challenging financial times, I'm still spending money. I'm still getting gas. I mean, you're spending somebody's money, even if it's borrowed from the bank. Well, it's yours, you're paying for it now, but does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you need a plan for it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Having an emergency fund. What do these things look like? And I'm here to tell you, we have books on how to start a business. We have books on managing your personal finances. But how do you marry and integrate all of that? Mm-hmm. Or try not to lose your mind? Mm-hmm. That's where I step in. So anyway, this is what I want to say is invisible, but this is what's important, what you all will think about after today as it relates to your credit. Stop me at any time. But let's look at it. So again, here's the nice definition. A credit report is compiled of one or more of the credit bureaus that gives a detailed credit history, credit inquiries, and facts about all accounts ever opened along with credit lines. That's real nice. Again, it's a report card of how you paid your bills. I gotta remember not to walk up on the, what is that called, the owl?
You're good, yeah, it's owl.
The owl, you're dancing with it, all right. So, and then it also includes payments that were made on time as well as those that were late. I've been there before. It was years ago. There's no trace of it now. Thank you. You know, I'm glad for that, but it's okay. Because I didn't know a lot about credit at the time. Now your credit score also, well, One way it's referred to is as your Fair Isaac Corporation score measures your risk of repayment. And these are the scores that most credit lenders use. Now, I need to throw this out here too. If you use Credit Karma, then you've seen that old Vantage score. I can't stand the Vantage score. Only because my scores are low over there. But here's the thing. You have several different types of scores, okay? If you use Credit Karma, anybody ever use Credit Karma? Okay. Credit Karma.
The free one?
Yeah, the free one. I'm glad you said that. Side note, never pay for to get your credit scores. They're no more authentic than the ones that are free. I had someone tell me that one time in a workshop. They said, well, the ones we pay for are more authentic. No, they're not. They're not. Your bank gives you a free one. Like with the credit union, that's where I do my personal, well, I have different banks for my business, but just use the credit union, for example. They only use Equifax. I think now they've started to report to the other two, because I have my mortgage with them now and well, for years and some other things. But some of your places only report to one place. Okay, so they may use, because Equifax, depending on if you go straight to their site, they use FICO. They use the Vantage score now, but on the credit unions, it's FICO 8. Experian uses FICO 8. Now, what does that all mean? That means these companies have their own scoring models and systems that they use. They have the same factors that they look at, which we'll talk about, but it's like a piece of a pie. The factors carry weight. I honestly can tell you, I have almost 100-point difference between I'm good on FICO 8 and fair on the Vantage score. And you can't, and understanding that will help you keep your sanity. Like, oh my God, what's wrong? We can't do anything about how they design their scoring systems, but what we need to understand is it accurate? And if we have some derogatory marks, what to do and to maintain it. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to say FICO is one version of it, but then if you use Credit Karma that only gives you Equifax and TransUnion, it's going to give you the Vantage score. And the Vantage score, from what I know, because I have personal debt and some business debt. Most of my debt now is tied into, when my cash flow cycles are slow, I use my credit. That's what I use my debt for, not to have a good time. Okay. Or if I need to get to point A or point B, I can do those things. Then when I pay it down a little bit or pay it down a lot, then they start courting me again to offer something to spend my lines of credit. I get excited. And I'm like, with me? Anyway. Y'all get this right here. So the higher your score, the less risky you are. Doesn't mean you're a bad payment. I have been risky and I've been not so risky. And I'll say this, when my scores take dips and go back up, it has nothing to do with my payment history anymore. It has to do with the amount of debt that I may be carrying. But if I had to choose, then if I have to accumulate a little bit more debt to pay my payment on time, if I'm having slow cash flows, then that's what I'm gonna do. Because when a late payment stays on for 7 years from the time they first report it, that's more detrimental. You can make a big payment when cash flow comes back in and it goes right back up. I have seen my credit just jump 100 points and then jump. I don't wanna call it quick fixes, y'all, because at the end of the day, when I am advising my clients, I'm advising them on number one, we wanna stop the bleeding. And if you owe collection agencies, well, they can't get blood out of a turnip. I'm really country. I don't know. Some of y'all are probably not from here. Blood out of a turnip. Okay. Y'all don't know what that means? They can't get what they can't get. I don't know if you can get blood out of a turnip or not, but probably not. So y'all get my point. I digress sometimes. They can't get what they can get. So when they're calling, harassing you and all that stuff, there are numbers you can call. I've been harassed in the past. Like I said, there were years ago going through, didn't know what I know now. So here's the thing. Stopping the bleeding means you look at your budget. You do not agree to anything that you cannot afford. What are they gonna do to you? Thank God they can store us in debt prison or nothing. But that's when a solid financial plan on what you can do and what you can't do is important. And sometimes we need help, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's something that I do. I work, like I said, there's no judgment there because you can do all the right things, but business is gonna be business. Businesses all go through it. That doesn't mean you don't feel a kind of way, because I do sometimes, but understanding that. So this is why I'm talking about your personal side, because these are some things that are gonna help you get through the tough times. You got your hand up? Yes.
Yeah. Are there any free sites to look at, not your personal credit score, but like a business's credit score? Because I've only seen ones that you pay for.
I think I gotta look it up. Now somebody quote me. It's because I get some alerts from my business. Now I have some business credit. Is it Experian that offers it as well? I can't, is it Experian? Dun and Bradstreet.
Bradstreet, Uber's, and certain products coming out of TechCrunch.
Okay,
What about Paydex? Is that also a business credit thing? Okay, I could be wrong.
so there is one slide in here, I think, where I talk about Dun and Bradstreet, because you can register, but sometimes, so for example, I have an American Express line of credit and a credit card business, and they report to whoever they report to, but they don't report on my personal. I'm not really mad with that, because I'm like, sometimes I might need to stretch it out a little bit as far as the utilization rate. And so they don't need to know what all is going on, so that's fine, that's a good thing. But I have access to that. So some of them, and I think that one, but yeah, if you register with Dun & Bradstreet, the website is up here. I think I updated it on one of the other slides. You register your business there for free. And then, like you said, that's another way. So I have Office Depot line of credit. I don't know who they use, but they don't report to my personal. So there are those are those in between things that, but to answer your question, I know Experian is one. You mentioned another one. But when you register with Dun & Bradstreet, because they would send me things to say, and you can probably pay for those. I'm just like, well, whatever, I know what I need to do. So I'm not itching to, see what it is, because they're always offering me something when I pay something down, or even when I have it, if that makes sense. So there's probably a nice little list, but what you want to do is, as you're applying to, what I'm gonna say, different vendors, how many of y'all get all kind of credit card offers in the mail in your business? And I just got my American Express credit card earlier this year, because they've been courting me, because they all have an LLC and a sole proprietorship. I started out as a sole proprietor, and then as I grew out, I wanted to create an LLC for some other reasons, for some things I'm doing in the future. So American Express sends me all kinds of things, and I'm like, I'm not paying $395 for a yearly, this yearly fee. And then they finally sent me something that was attractive, and I took advantage of it. Applied right online, because I got excellent payment history, and my credit score had dipped some, but it was still good. And it gave me a couple dollars, which I didn't have to turn around and use something. I hate having the resource and then have to use it. But isn't that what it's for? I know it sounds silly. Anybody else like me? You get it?
It's money to make money.
It really doesn't. It's a double-edged sword for me, because I'm a financial person. Then I'm like, I don't want to have to use it, but that's what it's for. So that's my internal war that I'm working out. But those are things I was able to get just like that. But I hope I answered, those are some things. But at the Dun & Bradstreet, you can check the link up, or you probably already have it up. They move faster than I do, So anyway, so you don't pay for your credit reports. You are entitled to one free. So I'll start with annualcreditreporting.com. So I don't know now, during COVID, they were making it free, but prior to the pandemic, when we were in the heat of it, before the pandemic, it was, you could view your credit reports once every 12 months, and they would not let you do it before then, because I tried. Now, your credit scores were not free, okay? But like, if you get denied for something, the bank will send you their link to their blah, blah, blah. Now, Credit Karma and Experian are the ones I use. I haven't used annual credit reporting. Now, like I said, I don't know if annualcreditreport.com is still offering, if they've gone back to their ways of once every 12 months, but I have to do my due diligence and tell y'all about all of it. The other one is Credit Karma, which I mentioned, some of you may have used it, TransUnion, and your Equifax scores. They use what's called the Vantage score. And again, it's one of their scoring systems that they use. My scores through them are lower than, like I said, when using FICO 8, depends on which model they use.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ruth at home has her hand raised. I think
Yes.
she'd like to say something.
Yes.
Ruth?
I'm confused on what I'm looking at.
Okay, I've been following Dave Ramsey. Are you familiar with who that is? Who he is?
I like Dave, but me and Dave disagree on some stuff when it comes to plastic surgery, y'all, the credit cards we're talking about. I like Dave, I like some of his principles, but that credit card thing we can't, go ahead, yes.
Okay, so the thing is, I've been doing that for like 20 years. And so I got the only 2 credit cards that I had like back more than 20 years ago. So I have no revolving credit. Now that I'm in this entrepreneurial journey. Everyone wants to talk about the credit and all of the things that I'm like not familiar with, because I have no credit cards. I only pay for what I can afford. And so anyway, what would be your advice? So because I know the only payment that I have is the car payment, and that's it. And it's like green, it's super good. But how else can I build my credit so I can have a, now that I need to borrow money or get a loan or stuff like that?
Excellent question. I just bring so hard with, like I said, I like Dave, but business owners, we need credit. I wasn't born wealthy, and so I need credit. I'm just gonna be honest. Everything that I've created, it's been because cash flow only takes my cash flow. I don't want to insult anybody who has a limitless source of cash in here. The cash will, what happens when the cash goes, or you have several personal emergencies? You have to have something, even so, like Dave's, and I'm gonna get to your answer. Dave's advice is good for somebody who's not in business. If it's and even then, like one of my clients who's been working for the Postal Service for many years, has a good income. She has a like a $10,000 line of credit. I told her to go to the credit union and get something, because again, if your cash runs out, and y'all know enough emergencies can wipe you out, in a short period of time, to have a backup to the backup. But your answer is, do you have some good banking relationships? I know you're banking, well, you have to have at least one, because you have some money going somewhere, right?
I've been having my bank account, for like 15 years. Like I'm pretty stable. So
Okay.
yeah, but no
Go to
credit cards or anything.
Okay, so this is what I would like for you to do. Find out, depending on whether you're, what type of bank you're at, go in and talk to your branch manager, and ask them about their solutions for business owners. What kinds of lines of credit do you have? What types of business credit cards? If they don't offer certain things, then talk to them about who they can refer you to. But that's why it's important to have good banking relationships. I have friends at the bank. And so there have been times where, you never know when you might otherwise wouldn't qualify online and had to go in and speak to your friend.
Yes.
People do what they want to at the end of the day. I'm not saying you have to have things in line, but there's always exceptions to the rules. So go to your bank, talk to the manager, or if you have more than one bank, go in and talk to the branch managers, the presidents, whatever their titles are, and find out about their products and things like that. And then get you a line of credit and a credit card. And then sometimes the offers that are sent to you through like these sites are not bad, or if they send them through the mail, but you have to read that fine print. But I say start with your bank first.
Yeah, I do. I every time receive those offers, I put them in the trash.
Yeah. Some
I guess
of them
I
are
need
good, but
to look at them. Okay.
if you're not a fine print person, you have to put them in the trash. Because see, I'm reading the fine print. I'm like, there's that $395 fee. No, they're not. But that's just me. I read the fine print. Go to your bank and sit down and have a conversation with them. Talk to them about your business. And then they will have additional resources. And then, like I said, there are some really good online lenders. Like I said, I have American Express. Some people don't like Capital One. I've had that for some years, but it's I qualified for a lot of that before I transitioned into this full time, and it has helped me. So does that help? Start with your bank. I don't want to make it too complicated. Our relationships at our banks are critical.
We've got 2 raised on the line. All right, Olivia, I think popped her hand up first, and then Laura after that.
I feel like I should be looking to see. Then I'm looking at the back of me and it's confusing me.
Olivia,
Good morning. Good morning. I just wanted to touch on Ruth's question, because I was experiencing that same issue this past year, and I was just really nervous about getting a large loan for my business. And I connected with the SBA, and they have a small business center here in North Carolina. And they connected me with a nonprofit organization called Thread Capital. And what they do is help small businesses that are in their first startup stages. And they offer loans to people who normally wouldn't get qualified through a bank or through these other organizations. So I can share that information with you because it helped me tremendously. And I have the best credit score this year that I've ever had in my whole life, just by, connecting with these different resources. And yeah, so I'm in the same boat you are, Ruth, but I can totally connect you with them as well. And I just want to say this session has been absolutely amazing. The energy is there, the vibe is there, and I'm learning so much. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
But that is my pain that gives me the energy. Thank you so much for your kind words. So the CDFIs, where's she at? Who, I thought you said
Laura,
somebody was
yeah.
waiting at me.
Laura's waiting.
Laura's.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I wanted to add to that, just to share our personal experience with our banker relationship, because we've been a farm for more than 10 years, and it's just the last 2 years that we finally moved to a bank where we actually have a banker that knows our business and thinks of us as a client. Before we were really just making deposits and nobody was really looking out for us, and it became really clear when all the COVID stimulus started coming out and we realized our bank had no support for us whatsoever. And so when we were able, we switched. We asked around about, what's a more business friendly bank, and got switched. And it's really clarified to us how important it is to have a relationship with your banker, and she thinks about us and she'll contact us if there's a new program. Like we have another, what's the name of this, that Thread Capital is CDFIs? CDFI. Yeah. So Self-Help Capital is another CDFI, and they launched a new program for my county, and then they called us to make sure we knew about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the wonderful thing is y'all are gonna have some more resources after me because there's somebody from a CDFI who's coming behind me.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, that's your prize for this evening. So they're on the way with more resources. So y'all are asking the right questions. And I'm excited about CDFIs. Again, those are community development financial institutions. So again, they're there for when, people can't get, maybe that funding they need from a traditional bank. And I do work with them. That's why I think that's why I'm real excited, because again, I really know what they do because they hire me to come in and train. So guess what? If you have credit challenges, then you might see me. Well, I partner with one in High Thrive. So I do business coaching, and trainings, in the groups individually. My Business Capital in Greensboro. I know you all are spread out throughout the country and the Triad and in North Carolina, but My Business Capital, they used to be the Greensboro Community Development Fund. I was the go-to person for this type of thing right here. So I sort of stand in the gap of these types of organizations. So maybe you can't get the funds from the bank, and maybe you're not quite ready for them. One of the former executive directors, he used to say it's not a no, but just maybe a not right now. So while it's not your right now, I'm going to help you get to the point where you are. Now, if you're at a point where, like you mentioned, because managing debt is a huge responsibility. And I feel like that's part of my calling. I don't like it, but I'm able to survive and understand, so that maybe that might not be your thing, but I can help you get through it. Does that make sense? Because it can get stressful. It takes great discipline. And the way you manage your personal finances is going to be the way you manage your business finances. So that comes with other things outside the scope of today: time management, wellness, how you take care of yourself as an entrepreneur, all those things. Does that make sense? So the good news is y'all have help after me today that's going to talk, well, in a little bit, few moments, is going to come and talk. What's my time like?
We have 13 minutes.
13 minutes, I can do it. So the next speaker is going to address where y'all can find more money in CDFIs, which some of you have already mentioned. That's where this particular representative is coming from. They can talk to you more about those additional sources. And so the in-between, there are some things you can apply for online, depending on your credit score, where you do not have to submit financials. Like I said, one time I was in a crunch, my computer died. This is a few years back. I'm able to just go online, apply for my American Office Depot. They do your extra income stuff. About $1,000. I didn't need that much for the laptop. So I was like, yes. And I've been able to use that over and over. They don't report to the bureaus, but I'm okay. Our bureau, But I'm okay with that because sometimes I don't need that to affect my
Even
utilization rate.
if you have a business Verizon account for like your cell phone and stuff, that'll also report to the Experian business.
Which one, Verizon?
Mhm.
Cause I know T-Mobile don't do nothing for me right now, but
Verizon.
Verizon does?
If you have a business account with
Okay.
Verizon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then what I can do, if it helps, I can make a list, like I said, thinking about, and those are the things that I think banks, I'm gonna talk to somebody at our chamber president about doing some things of pulling in banks. What's the in between when you need some money, when you can't get here and can't get there? Your bills are not gonna stop.
Mhm.
But if you're okay, if you know, you got a decent payment history, some other things, there are some pieces that you can get in between. I am a witness. Like I said, I got a true story. I'm gonna say this when we talk about businesses. I got now probably about 11 minutes, but I can still do it. Along with your bankers having a good relationship, guess what? You might need a car or something. After 17 years of driving a Ford Explorer, my baby died in November of this past year. I was never, well, I mean, eventually I knew I was going to have to get another vehicle, but not then. I figured I'd get another 10 years because before I made, some bad financial decisions, just being young and not really understanding credit. And so I paid off one vehicle and got that one. I was like, I need something bigger. Not sure why, because it was just me. But anyway, I digress. So it was a 2004 Explorer. I bought it in 2005. Credit was not good, had extremely high interest rate. Make a long story short, started learning about, sure enough, about money, paying things off. I was working full time in entrepreneurship part-time. Ended up the State Employees Credit Union, which I've been with for 15 years. I had bought a house in 2008 as well, still in it, 15 years. This year. So, I qualified off of my teaching salary, and by then my credit's good again. But my point is, there was a time when they denied me for my mortgage because even though I was back in the 700s, I still had a charge off. And for those of you that don't know what a charge off is, when you owe a collection agency, after a period of time you don't pay them, they sell your debt. Okay, so I had a couple charge offs on there. And when I started learning about credit and money, I remember 7 years had already passed and I went to file a dispute online and it was gone. I drove around the corner to the credit union in my Ford Explorer, and I think I had 13% interest rate, refinanced my house. Our house was with Wells Fargo, I think it was like 6.8%. Refinanced the house and the car, and they were like, oh my, look at what she did with her credit score. That's why I tell you, I've been on both sides of it. Literally. And then recently I met with Pinnacle Financial Partners. They've been very supportive of my nonprofit in Thomasville. And so I was having some problems with my American Express connecting because of Yodel with my bank accounts. I was like, this is affecting my access to my line of credit. Make a long story short, one of the guys, the bankers there said, Andrea, why don't you have your stuff with us? I said, because right now y'all don't want to give me anything. And my payment is good, y'all see my money. But I guess I got too much debt for y'all, and I understand you don't make the rules. So again, I said all that to say I love them dearly, and I know they don't make the rules if they, but I can still get things. And then what will happen, I'll pay some things down, and then people will offer me more things and extend my line of credit. Now, I'm not saying go out here and get limitless amounts of credit cards and things like that. I'm talking about you strike when it's good, so when it's slow, you got it. But it takes discipline to learn about, time management. This is key to all of this. You have to take out time. When I'm working with my clients, what day of the week or the month or however you get paid are you gonna designate for your finance committee meeting? I tell people I have finance committee meetings. They say, who's involved? Me, myself, and I. Well, that's who in my company. Who is that in your company? And even on the personal side, if you do not take time out to work on your business, which now includes your financials that they just talked about, and there's no way you have to take time. And if you need help with time management, then you tap into somebody like me to help you. Maybe you need the holistic approach of everything. What's going on in your life? What strategies do we need to put in place? Y'all excuse, I'm extra, as you can see, I sort of dipped and then my voice changed. All right, but seriously, I have to have these conversations with myself because you are the most important thing in your business. If you are not well, and your needs are not met, you only have so much energy for this. And I'm here to tell you, you're not supposed to run yourself in the ground as an entrepreneur or while pursuing entrepreneurship. We're in this grind culture. So the more you grind, the better you are. No, you're gonna be dead, or you're gonna be so stressed out, and health issues are real. Because on the flip side of it, I've also been taking care of my own health insurance. I got a disability policy, all these things that I moved into when I said, okay, I'm doing this full time. Your health is your wealth.
And then sometimes in business, you have to get bonds and that's credit specific. So, there's so many things.
Your credit is I don't care what, and I've had people that have sat in my credit workshop someday from the credit repair companies and different, I'm gonna call them hecklers. They're not really hecklers, but they want to argue with me. I'm not gonna argue with them. But, they say, you don't have to do all that. Beware of the people that tell you don't have to do all this. Because they're gonna take your money. And I've known people that know what I do and spend thousands and they're no better off.
That's right.
So anyway, I know I only have probably about 8 minutes. I don't know, but that's
7, but that's.
oh,
that's
yeah, because I know how this goes. All right. So here's the thing. But again, for those that have questions or didn't hear before, the presenter after me will be talking about those additional sources. He is, from a CDFI. And like I said, the Institute, I got money from them before during COVID. I had all my financials ready. I was trying to get another round. They didn't give me anything. I don't know if my application got lost in the mail or what. But in cyberspace. But nonetheless, I can attest to that. And I feel like I'm connected with some other organizations that they fund. But I sit between, I am some of the CDFI's go-to person for this type of thing. Because people need more help beyond the workshop sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You need accountability sometimes. I don't whoop my clients or fuss at them. But just what happened today? You got to meet with somebody or something and help you stay on track a little more. So anyway, this is where I use, so the last 2 are where I use to get my credit reports and everything. They're all free. Don't pay for anything. Use that money for something else. You can go to Credit Karma, but if you use Credit Karma, you need to go to Experian. You need to go to Experian separately because there could be something else hanging out on Experian or credit or on Equifax or TransUnion that's not on there, but is on Experian. Because like I mentioned with the credit union, for years, they only reported to Equifax. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Even now, they'll just pull your Equifax score. But I know what's going on all of them. And side note, if you're not using your credit right now, you need to freeze it. Because we don't know what people are doing. Mm-hmm. So if I apply for something, I always forget it's frozen. And they email me and say, we need to unlock it. Oh yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. All right. There's more to all of this, but anyway, in my book, I do have books. So side note, feel free if you're in person to peruse the books. Mm-hmm. I have inventory in my vehicle. I have ebooks. I am on Amazon, but if you want to purchase from my website, I get to keep all my money less the PayPal fees. You have options. So yes, I'll say all that. All right. Y'all, and then get your Experian report because you need to see the entire picture. That's all I can say about that because it's almost done. Follow the budget. This is what I'm gonna say. Originally, I was gonna show y'all a Excel spreadsheet, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm gonna say about a budget. I'm old school. I started out writing pencil and paper, my budget. People ask me, well, what app should I use? Well, I don't know. I use Excel. Now I got a nice little color-coded thing that I use. It's an example in my book. It's not color-coded, but a spreadsheet that I created for one of my clients that did hair, hairstylist, because she told me this week, this is what she get paid the next week. So I use something I use now myself where I'm like, week 1, this is how many, how much my bills are. Week 2, this is how much everybody has a different pattern, but the bills are due. So here's the thing I'm gonna tell you about a budget. Write down, type in, whatever you wanna do, everything it takes to make you operate on the personal side. Now, you need that for the business side, they already covered that. I mean, whether it's toilet paper, Kleenex, shampoo, y'all get where I'm going, prescriptions. I'm not. So years ago, I tell people I ate up a lot of my money. I mean, eating is important. I love to eat. Anyway.
Especially now that they have these eating items. So like those apps
it's
are
the best.
devil. That's the enemy.
I'm telling you.
Those fees are egregious.
And I'm not saying don't enjoy your life, okay? But I like to ask people, are you eating up all your dreams? Are you eating up your seed for your business? And so this is why the budget is important. Everybody, so here's what I'm gonna tell y'all. I don't care what I got going on. Nothing against beanies and weenies, but I can't eat them. When I turned 30, 18 years ago, I can't believe how time flies. Anyway, my body changed. But I hadn't eaten beanies and weenies since then. Y'all heard people say how they sacrifice. No offense to that. But if I'm unhappy, then I'm gonna waste money on what I know I didn't want to eat because it's cheap on top of then going back and getting what I want. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So when you're budgeting, you think about what's gonna make you happy within a reason. Everybody in here and online is different. So I'm not gonna tell you, and there are percentages that experts say you should be using this much percentage on this and this, that. That's a nice guideline, but at the end of the day, you're unique. Cause like I said, people have different needs. You may have prescriptions, you may have different dietary needs. So what I do want you all to do is think about what does it take for you to operate? Don't leave anything out. If you go to Mighty, well, we have Mighty Dollar, Thompson Dollar Tree. If you go spend up money in the dollar store, put it down. Does that make sense? I don't care how minute it seems. I feel like I'm getting too close to the eye.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
So does that make sense? We on the same page? Everything. Okay? And be real, and then just put it down. And then right now you might know what is that? What you in here, you know where you're overspending, right? So one principle I learned was like a 10-10 principle. Now where can you reduce $10 for 10 things? And that's $100. Or maybe it's 8 things. I don't know. I'm not here to give that. For you do this because it would take me talking to you because you have values, you have beliefs. That's a sociologist in me. You know, I'm not Susie Orman. I don't know if y'all remember. She was like, no, girlfriend, your boyfriend, you can't afford it. I like Susie too, but some things I don't agree with because it's got to be a happy medium or you're not going to stick with it. It has to be a realistic budget. I'm going to also be looking at, do you have life insurance? Do you have people that depend on your income? Do you have a disability policy if you're full-time? All right, that's enough of that. Y'all get where I'm going.
Yep.
Because then the next step is I'm going to help you stop the bleeding. I'm not worried about your creditors, your collection agencies. I need to make sure, number one, you can feed your family, yourself. Does that make sense? Because you're gone and it's not gonna matter. So making sure that we stop the bleeding. Okay, do we need to help you generate some more revenue? Okay, what are ways we can do that? Does that make sense? So that you can get your money because we need the money, to make sure we take care of what we need to take care of.
We've got 1 minute.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Y'all got this right here. So follow the budget, using your credit cards properly. Realistically speaking, they want you to use no more than 30% of your available credit limit. So you take each of your credit cards and multiply them times 0.3, whatever your limit is, and that's when you go over that, your credit score drops. But like I said, don't try to pay extra on your credit card if all you can pay is the minimum payment. I'd rather you pay the minimum payment than trying to pay extra cash on it, but then you let something else slip. Does that make sense? Because you'll only have to do that for a season. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Make your payments on time. I don't care if it's your taxes, it's your vehicle. True story. When you talk about financial statements, sometimes I have to educate the people at the bank. I told y'all my vehicle died and I was devastated. I was getting a fence put up at my house and the windows at the same time. Now that was planned, but my vehicle wasn't. Look, I marched in, so I had this window time before the fence hit. That line of credit hit.
I'm sorry, we just got slightly distracted because the owl just popped balloons up. It got very excited about your fence.
I like it. I love my fence, and it helps my well. I bet you just love. I got good vibes. I love it.
It did.
Oh my God. I love my fence and it helps my well-being, but I didn't know if you were to have, so I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I'm gonna get this vehicle fixed. I know I shouldn't because it's the value anyway, the fix anyway. I would have been spending more money than the value on it. But at that point, I was like, I can't have a car payment. I've had a car payment in years. All right. A friend of mine said, Andrea, what is your vehicle? I told him, he said, how many miles you got on it? 243,000. He just texted me and said,
It's over.
the lifespan of the Ford Explorer was 240,000. Had we not been in the middle of a pandemic, it would have died before then. So nonetheless, I marched myself into the bank because I'm on a time limit now. I got to go in there before that fence hit and shows that line. Because the line hit, it was 10,000, I have a huge backyard, got a vinyl fence. So that $10,000, $12,000 line of credit hit and it helped my utilization rate go down, right? Because it hadn't been used yet. But in a delay, I was able to slide in. I think my utilization rate made it go down to 30%. I was like, I had to get in there because once the window and the fence hit, I don't know what I'm gonna be. Well, I could still apply for something, but I don't know about how much cars cost. So I went in there, make a long story short. They looked at my tax information. I was like, I'm gonna tell you by looking at my taxes, I'm not gonna be able to afford anything. What you need to look at is my financials. You need to look at my bank statements. You need to look at this. Side note, y'all, hope all y'all have separate you need to have your personal bank accounts, not commingle your personal expenses with your business. I know y'all heard this. I can't say it enough because when it was time for me to go in and get my vehicle, I was able, and the guy was like, no. Then he went and took it to the branch manager. I was like, I told him. I'm telling you what I know as a business owner. So those are those nuances. Our taxes, we have all these deductions, but then it's gonna, drop down our adjusted gross income, make it decrease. But I got my financials to show I make way more than that. So he looked, he walked out. Oh, and he had nerve to tell me, I would not be able to afford an SUV. I was like, nah, I can get something, even if it's a little one. You know, someday I said I was gonna get a Tahoe, and then someday became November. But you're not, I'll tell you right now, you're not gonna be able to get an SUV. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna get something. I can get something. And he came back with more than I anticipated. And then he ended up telling me I still, couldn't get a Tahoe. My time is up. But my point is that you need to have those. It is important that you keep don't commingle things, because you're gonna need stuff other than your business for your business. You might need a car, you might have an emergency, you might have something going on with the house. So this takes a lot of time. Review your credit reports for errors. Y'all get what I'm saying about pay all your bills. Managing credit inquiries. When you do let somebody pull your credit, it's a hard pull. What that means is that it'll make your score drop about 2 or 3 points. But if it's worth the deal, then do it. But when you're looking for a car or something like that, you got to be careful, because depending on the agency, they will keep running it. And I've seen people's credit scores go from 700 to 600 in a day. So these are other things we can talk about. Authorized users, you could have somebody ask you about adding you, and then their good history becomes yours. But if it's bad, it becomes yours too. So sometimes you want to stay away from that. These credit repair scams, I'm gonna just say that in 60 seconds. We've already talked about. That's that Dun and Bradstreet stuff. And they're gonna talk to you more about funding. I'm gonna skip over that and just go to your next. So in closing, look at what your next steps are. In closing, scams. If somebody offers you something called a CPN number, and it looks like a credit card, that it could be called a credit privacy number or credit protection number. Those are stolen Social Security numbers, usually from deceased children. It is called fraud. Somebody said, well, why is that bad again? I said, it's fraud. I'm not getting rid of it. I don't know what else to tell you. All right. I have seen people tag me on Instagram and those kinds of posts. And I'm like, don't untag me and blah, blah, blah. If somebody says they can guarantee you money, they cannot. I don't even guarantee my services. What I said, if you stick with me, eventually you'll see some type of change. I ain't gonna tell you, you have to be careful about that. And then you should not use your employee identification number, your EIN number, to try to get personal stuff. That's for your business only. For also to be so the Social Security Administration can track you, as well as on how to for your tax purposes for the feds. So next, these are the steps that you want to start to think about, because I really stand in the gap of what happens today. You got your financials, which is nice, but you have to make sure you add in your financial life so you can be prepared to take step 3. I know I'm over probably about 60 seconds, but that's it. So that's your, and then when your budget, so what do you use? This is what I'm gonna tell you, like I told my clients. Some of you like apps. So find you an app that works for you, because they're free, like the Mint, I think it's the mint.org has, there are so many things. For some of you, like myself, it's gonna confuse you to use some of those templates out there because they got too much stuff in it. You can start with a blank Excel sheet and just type in your categories and your amounts, or start on paper. So find what fits for you. Now, Margaret, if you need me to give you a template, I will, but I think that will help depending on what your personality is. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what you use as long as you do it. That's good. All right, so I guess I'm doing else, I'll just move. So, any questions about what's next, or do I need to clarify something? Or am I just get out of the way? Great.
No, thank you so much, Andrea.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your session. You got me going like, yes, I can do this. So thank you so much.
Doing the balloons were the signs.
That's it.
I'm surviving. I am a witness. I have laughed, cried, I've gotten angry, I've quit in my head, and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, well, thank you so much. She'll be back on Tuesday for the review and the mentoring.
Oh, we have one more. I have my website. That was the thing for those that were online. I'm sorry. For those that are online, the people here can see my books, but I do have, you can go to my website, which is.
I shared the link.
Oh, look at you. Okay, never mind. Y'all have it all.
And I'll reshare it in Basecamp for everybody to be able to access.
Yeah, we'll share it. Don't
And
worry.
if you're hanging around, you're welcome to leave those up there for people.
Okay, I'm hanging out. So then I'll just take my stuff and move to the bed. Oh, no, I'm going to finish this.
Okay. Yeah, the meter.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you again.
Okay, great. So now we're going to turn